What if the cure for every disease turned ordinary people into bloodthirsty monsters? Deep inside the jungles of Bolivia, a heavily armed military team escorts a group of biologists into a mysterious cave. According to ancient rumors, something dangerous has been locked away there for centuries. At first, everyone assumes it's just another legend, but the moment they reach the center of the cave, they realize the stories were true. Behind a massive steel cage stands a terrifying creature unlike anything they've ever seen. It doesn't move, it just watches them in complete silence. The atmosphere is so unsettling that even the soldiers hesitate to get any closer. Then, everything goes horribly wrong. A local tribesman suddenly unlocks the creature's cage. Before anyone can react, one curious scientist slowly walks toward it, believing it might not be hostile. That single mistake turns into a nightmare. The creature explodes forward with incredible speed. Gunfire fills the cave as the soldiers fight to stop it. After a brutal battle, they finally kill the monster, but not before one team member, Tim, suffers a deep bite on his neck. But the real horror was only beginning. Tim is rushed to the hospital, and the doctors are convinced he won't survive. His injuries are simply too severe. Then something impossible happens. Instead of dying, Tim suddenly wakes up. Even more shocking, the massive wound on his neck has completely healed without leaving a single scar. At first, everyone celebrates what looks like a miracle. Seconds later, the celebration ends. Blood begins dripping from Tim's mouth. As he touches his teeth, they start falling out one after another. Whatever entered his body inside that cave is changing him from the inside out. The government immediately launches a classified research program known as the NOAA Project. Scientists spend years studying Tim's condition, hoping to understand the mysterious infection. 3 years later, they finally learn the truth. Tim is no longer human. He has transformed into a violent, blood-hungry creature. Blood samples reveal that the virus inside him has never been seen before. It rapidly repairs damaged cells, rewrites human DNA, and makes the body almost immune to every known disease. Then the world is hit by a deadly influenza outbreak. The virus spreads at an alarming speed, killing countless people across the globe. Desperate to stop the pandemic, scientists believe Tim's blood could hold the key to a cure. They extract his serum and begin testing it on human subjects. The results are disastrous. The patients don't die from the flu anymore, but every single one of them slowly transforms into the same bloodthirsty monsters as Tim. Just when the project seems like a complete failure, one female death row inmate produces results unlike any previous subject. For the first time, the researchers believe they're getting closer to success, but they still need the perfect test subject. After months of searching, they identify a young orphan named Amy. Her mother recently passed away, leaving her completely alone with no family to protect her. While Amy continues living a normal life at the orphanage, she has no idea that powerful people have already made a life-changing decision. To them, she isn't a little girl anymore. She's their next experiment. Amy has no idea that her life is about to change forever. One ordinary morning, 2 federal agents arrive at the orphanage. They claim they're there to take Amy into government custody. On paper, everything looks official, but something about them feels wrong. Amy notices it immediately. Sometimes children sense danger long before adults do, and her instincts tell her not to trust these strangers. The moment she gets the chance, she quietly slips upstairs, climbs down an old fire escape, and runs as fast as she can. For a brief moment, it looks like she might actually escape, but the agents quickly catch up. One of them grabs her roughly and throws her into the vehicle without a second thought. The aggressive behavior immediately upsets the other agent, Brad. He doesn't like what he sees, but for now, he keeps his mouth shut. Meanwhile, strange events are unfolding inside the NOAA research facility. Scientists and staff members who have worked near the infected subjects begin having the exact same nightmares. Every night, they see the same twisted faces staring back at them. At first, they blame stress. Then they realize it's happening to almost everyone. And that's when they begin to suspect something far more terrifying. The infected creatures may not only be changing physically, they might also be influencing the human mind. During the long drive, Brad slowly starts talking to Amy. At first, she's frightened and refuses to trust him. But as the hours pass, something changes. Amy reminds Brad of his own daughter, who passed away years earlier. The more time he spends with her, the harder it becomes to see her as just another government test subject. He finally makes a decision that changes everything. When his partner stops at a restroom, Brad quietly knocks him unconscious. Without wasting another second, he grabs Amy, jumps into the vehicle, and disappears. Now they're both fugitives. A short time later, they stop at a convenience store. While grabbing supplies, Brad looks up at the television and freezes. His face is everywhere. The government has branded him a wanted criminal, and law enforcement agencies across the country are searching for him. Brad quickly realizes they'll never make it across the border while every officer is looking for them. His only hope is to surrender publicly and expose what's really happening inside the NOAA project, but things don't go according to plan. The moment he's taken into custody, Defense Department agents arrive almost immediately. It becomes painfully obvious that they don't care about justice. They only want Amy back. With no other choice left, Brad tells Amy to steal the key to his handcuffs. She bravely tries, but a nearby sheriff hears the noise before she can finish. Everything falls apart in seconds. Brad is forced to take the sheriff hostage, but before anyone can negotiate, Defense Department agents open fire, killing the sheriff themselves just to silence the situation. Now, Brad has only one option left: fight. Most people don't know he was once one of the Navy SEALs' finest operators. Years of combat training instantly kick in as he takes down multiple armed agents with speed and precision. Still, the odds are overwhelming. As more agents close in, Brad spots a fire extinguisher beside the hallway. One perfectly placed shot fills the area with thick white smoke. Using the confusion as cover, he grabs Amy and runs. But during the escape, a bullet tears into his abdomen. Ignoring the pain, Brad steals a police cruiser, activates the siren, and races through traffic. After a dangerous chase, he finally loses his pursuers. Miles away from the city, his body finally gives out. The car rolls to a stop, and Brad collapses unconscious behind the wheel. Now, Amy is completely alone, and the next decision she makes will determine whether they survive or become the government's next victims. Brad is barely breathing. Blood continues pouring from his wound, and every second brings him closer to death. Sitting alone in the car, Amy is terrified, but she refuses to give up. Searching through Brad's belongings, she finds his phone and calls the only person listed as an emergency contact, his ex-wife, who happens to be a doctor. Over the phone, she calmly walks Amy through a few simple steps to keep Brad alive. Despite shaking with fear, Amy follows every instruction perfectly. A few moments later, Brad opens his eyes. Relief quickly turns into panic. The second he realizes Amy used his phone, he grabs it and throws it away. He knows the Defense Department can track the signal at any moment, and staying there is no longer an option. The two immediately leave before anyone can find them. Their next destination is a remote cabin hidden deep in the mountains. The place belongs to one of Brad's former Special Forces teammates. After giving a secret signal outside the cabin, a woman appears carrying a shotgun. For a split second, she points it directly at them. Then she recognizes Brad. Without saying much, she lets them inside. For the first time in days, it finally feels like they're safe. But that feeling doesn't last long, because someone else is already following their trail. Back at headquarters, investigators recover Brad's discarded phone. Even though he threw it away, the last signal gives them enough information to narrow down his location. Meanwhile, life at the cabin seems almost peaceful. Brad's old teammate contacts trusted allies and arranges a secret route into Canada. If everything goes according to plan, they can leave at sunrise and disappear before the government catches up. It's the best chance they've had since escaping. Unfortunately, morning never goes as planned. Just after sunrise, the cabin's security alarm suddenly starts blaring. Brad instantly knows what it means. They've been found. Within seconds, armed soldiers surround the property from every direction. Gunfire erupts across the mountains as Brad and his teammate fight desperately to protect Amy. Despite putting up a fierce defense, the attackers keep closing in. Then, tragedy strikes. Brad's teammate is seriously wounded during the firefight. Looking around, Brad realizes the fight is already lost. If he keeps resisting, everyone will die. After a painful moment of hesitation, he lowers his weapon. He chooses surrender over watching more innocent people get killed. But the biggest surprise comes from Amy. Brad tells her to run while she still can. She doesn't move. She refuses to leave him behind. Only a few days ago, they were complete strangers. Now he's the closest thing she has to family. The soldiers quickly capture them both and transport them to the highly classified NOAA research facility. Neither of them realizes they're about to step inside the very place where humanity's darkest secret has been hiding. And once those doors close behind them, there's no turning back. The NOAA research facility looks quiet on the outside, but behind its steel walls, nightmares are kept alive. On his very first day, a new janitor reports for work. Instead of helping him settle in, a few employees decide to play a cruel prank. They grab his ID badge and toss it straight into the containment cell of a captured vampire. The poor guy freezes. Nobody wants to walk into a cage with a bloodthirsty monster, especially on their first day at work. But with no other choice, he slowly steps toward the cell, praying he'll make it back alive. Somehow, he retrieves the badge without being attacked. Relieved, he quickly backs away. Then one arrogant employee decides to push his luck. Laughing, he starts taunting the vampire through the bars. That turns out to be the last mistake of his life. The creature launches forward with terrifying speed, killing him almost instantly. Within minutes, the entire facility is thrown into lockdown. But the security breach isn't what scares the scientists the most. When they review the surveillance footage, they notice something chilling. The vampire had every opportunity to attack the frightened janitor first. Instead, it deliberately chose the man who provoked it. That changes everything. Until now, they believed the infected creatures acted only on instinct. Now they realize the monsters are making decisions. They're thinking, they're judging, they're becoming self-aware. The discovery sends shockwaves through the NOAA project. After an emergency meeting, the The researchers decide that Subject 11 must be terminated before the situation gets even worse. They also suspect the infected have developed the ability to influence human minds. Destroying Subject 11 could finally prove whether that mental connection can be broken. The execution begins. After sedating the subject, the team seals her inside a reinforced chamber equipped with powerful ultraviolet lights. The instant the UV lamps switch on, her skin begins burning. Her screams echo through the entire laboratory. Then something impossible happens. Instead of fighting physically, Subject 11 reaches directly into Dr. Clark's mind. Suddenly, memories that aren't his begin flashing before his eyes. He sees a frightened young woman named Shauna. After her mother remarried, Shauna was forced to live with a violent stepfather who repeatedly abused her. When she begged her mother for help, no one believed her. Trapped with no escape, Shauna finally snapped. She killed both her mother and her stepfather. The court sentenced her to death. But before the execution could take place, the NOAA project claimed her as an experimental subject. The virus transformed her into one of the very monsters the scientists now feared. When the memories end, Dr. Clark is left speechless. For the first time, he no longer sees Subject 11 as just another monster. He sees a victim. And just seconds before the execution is completed, he secretly cancels the procedure. At that very moment, Brad and Amy are escorted deeper into the facility. They've spent days running from the government. Now they've been brought directly to the heart of the nightmare. And neither of them has any idea what the scientists are planning to do with Amy next. Brad and Amy are taken into one of the facility's most secure laboratories. The scientists explain that Amy is the key to creating a cure for the deadly flu pandemic. According to them, this experiment could save millions of lives. But Brad isn't convinced. Something about the entire project feels wrong. When the medical team prepares the injection, Amy panics. She starts crying and refuses to let anyone touch her. The researchers have no choice but to bring Brad into the room. He kneels beside her and gently tells her that he'll stay with her the entire time. Trusting him completely, Amy finally agrees to receive the injection. While everyone's attention is focused on the procedure, Brad quietly steals a sedative syringe. As he's escorted back to his room, he also memorizes the security code on the electronic door. He isn't planning to stay a prisoner for long, but escaping won't matter unless he learns the truth first. Late that night, Brad waits for the guards to become less alert. Using the stolen passcode, he quietly slips out of his room. He shines a powerful flashlight toward the security cameras, preventing them from getting a clear image of his face as he moves through the corridors. Near the elevator, he runs into the same janitor. Without making a sound, Brad injects him with the sedative. Once the man loses consciousness, Brad uses his retinal scan to unlock a heavily restricted laboratory. The door slowly slides open. The moment he steps inside, he wishes it hadn't. Rows of reinforced glass chambers stretch across the room. Inside each one is another infected subject. Some stare silently into the darkness. Others slam themselves against the glass, desperate to escape. The air feels heavy. Every instinct tells Brad this place should never have existed. Then another shocking discovery changes everything. The scientists were never trying to create only a flu vaccine. That was just the public story. Their real objective was far more ambitious. They wanted to use the vampire virus to eliminate aging and give humanity eternal life. But every attempt had failed. Instead of creating immortal humans, they created intelligent predators. Brad immediately realizes Amy could become the next victim if the experiment goes wrong. Before he can react, another emergency erupts elsewhere in the facility. One infected patient suddenly develops an extremely high fever. Doctors rush in from every direction, trying desperately to stabilize him. His body temperature rises beyond anything they've ever recorded. Then the facility loses power. The laboratory is swallowed by darkness. With no equipment available, the scientists desperately surround the patient with ice, hoping to slow the infection. Instead, the cold has the opposite effect. The virus mutates even faster. When the backup power finally returns, the patient is no longer human. His eyes are completely different. His body twists into something monstrous. Without warning, he attacks everyone around him. Chaos explodes throughout the laboratory. People scream as the creature tears through the room. Security teams barely manage to pull several scientists to safety before sealing the containment doors. But the damage has already been done. One doctor has been splashed with the infected creature's blood. He is immediately locked inside an isolation chamber. As he sits there alone, one terrifying thought keeps repeating in his mind. This outbreak wasn't an accident. Someone or something has been pulling the strings from the very beginning. And if he's right, the worst nightmare the NOAA project has ever created hasn't revealed itself yet.